Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting session from Fusion Financials. And in today's session, we are going to discuss about budgetary control for spend authorization. As we know that in respect to e-business suite in Fusion Financials, a new feature is introduced in expenses module, and that feature is a spend authorization. Just brief background about it. So this feature is basically useful in case like uh, to submit a estimated expense for any travel. So assume that an employee has a plan to travel to has a plan to travel somewhere for the business trip, maybe next month or in the coming days. So what is the estimated expense which is going to happen in that travel? So before doing the travel, that amount we can record in system. So that's about the spend authorization. More to it is optionally in the spend authorization, we can do a budget check. Means when we enter the estimated expense by using the spend authorization transaction in expenses module, optionally we can check whether there is sufficient budget in that particular travel account or not. So that's a brief about it. So the way I have planned to cover this is as below. Let me. Okay. So this requires some setup in GL. So we will do the GL setup. After doing the GL setup, we will create a budget for the specific travel account. Then expenses setup. After doing the expenses setup, we will do a spend authorization transaction. So when the way I have planned is that when for the first time we'll create a spend authorization transaction, we will put an amount in such a way that it should fail the budgetary control. So once it fails the budgetary control, what we'll do that we'll go and increase the budget, then again relaunch the budget check. Then now that spend authorization budget check should go through. After that, the spend authorization will be approved, and then we will verify the budget available. So that this is how we are going to cover this particular session. Okay. So let me start. So I will take you through the different steps which we need to do. So first, we need to configure the budgetary control uh, for expenses. Okay. So for this, let me use the pointer. So in the financials, setup and maintenance, go to manage budgetary control, search for the respective business unit, and ensure that for expense management business function, budgetary control is set to yes. So this is one of the setup which we need to do. We need to uh, create a budget. Now, to create a budget, first we need to define the budget. To define the budget, we must have a calendar. So next step is to define a budget calendar if you do not have. If you already have, then no need to define it. You can reuse that same during creating the control budget. Okay. So I have already created a budget calendar which is on monthly basis. So this is from 1st January 24 till 31st December 24. Once budget calendar is done, the next step is to define the budget, control budget. I have already created the budget here, so it's a expense monthly budget. I have set it right now control as absolute, means it will stop. It's not only warning, rather it will stop the transaction to proceed if budget is not sufficient. Okay. Uh, the budget is set at account level, but ideally, if we are working in the expenses module, uh, we should set it at cost center and account both so that we can allocate uh, the travel budget based on the cost center to which employee is attached. But since it's only for demonstration purpose for the budgetary control, so right now I have set only for only at account level for the demonstration purpose. Okay, there are many other features which in the budget I'm not going to cover those. So like account detail and all these things, we can all the features we can reuse. All the feature of budgetary control we can use for the spend authorization budgetary control. Okay, ensure that budget status in use. So now budget is defined. Now we need to assign a budget manager. So I have given the access to one user as a budget manager to the particular control budget what I have defined. Now create the budget, rather allocate the budget. Okay. So we go to the budgetary control dashboard. In the task panel, we have many things. So I have already created the budget through Excel upload. So what I'm going to do is that we are going to review the budget control balance. Okay. So the particular control budget, I just queried the budget available for the different period. The natural account what we have taken is 59001. So this is the account on which we have created the budget. Please focus on the budget for the period February. So right now the budget available is 1000. Total budget is 1000 and budget available is 1000. Okay. So let me go back to the notepad. So we covered GL setup, budget creation. Now let us go to the expense setup. So at the BU level, we need to enable the budgetary control. It's an optional, it's not mandatory. So go to the respective tasks shown here in the application and in the setup and maintenance. So if you want to, so one first thing, enable authorization. So when I say enable authorization means we want to use the spend authorization feature. That is it. It doesn't mean that enabling authorization must have the budgetary control. The budgetary control, we set it here. So first enable the authorization. Then if optional, if you want to have the budgetary control, set the budgetary control here in the respective region. So these are the two setups. Another point, once we enable the budgetary control, attaching a spend authorization to an expense report becomes mandatory. There will not be any expense report without a spend authorization, without approved spend authorization. So that's another point which we need to keep it in mind. Okay. Next, we have set the budget for account 59001. So we need to have expense type attached to that particular uh, account. So I created a new expense type and it is attached to the account for which I have created a budget for which I want to track the budget 59001. So this completes our expenses setup. Now let us proceed to do the spend authorization transaction. So let me go back to the Excel sheet what we had. So we come no, sorry to the notepad where we had explained all the different aspects which we are going to cover. So these three things we have covered. Now we are going to create a spend authorization transaction. For that we need to log into an employee user, and here we have the spend authorization task. Click on the request authorization button. Provide the travel date. Since I just said that we are going to track the budget for the month of February as a transaction, as a demonstration. So a start date of the travel I have kept as February in the February 24, start date and end date. This is based on this date only, it will verify the budget for the respective month. Now create the expense type. So I will select the expense type to which the particular expense account is attached, the expense account for which we have created the budget. Okay. So as you might have noticed earlier, let me go back to the previous slide where I had shown the budget. The budget is $1,000. So deliberately, as I planned earlier, deliberately I'm creating a estimated expense of $1,200. I want this spend authorization transaction to fail in the budgetary control. That's why I put the amount as more than the budget available. Okay. Save and close, and then then click on submit. So this will submit the spend authorization. Now, if you see, I go to my work list, my initiated task. I want to check whether my spend authorization passed the did it uh, did it successfully uh, validated for the budget available or not. So I click on this particular approval notification. I am right now in the employee who has created the spend authorization. So you can see initiated task I have selected here. So this is the spend authorization which has been created. Click on that. Now if you see here, fund check or reservation failed. So status is failed. Why? Because budget was 1,000, but the estimated expense what I have done here, estimated travel expenses what I have done here is more than the budget available. That's why it failed. Now let me do one thing. Let us increase the budget. For that, I again, as a budget manager, I go to the budgetary control dashboard and I enter the budget. Earlier the budget was 1,000. Let me make it 5,000. So click on the enter budget in a spreadsheet. So here select the budget, and now I'm saying it's a new budget or replacement of the current budget. Means I don't want to increment, rather I want to replace the complete budget. So earlier it was 1,000, I will make it 5,000. To do this, there are two options. Either I additionally create a budget of 4,000. In that case, I will select another option in this drop down. Second option, refresh the budget itself. So in that's what I've selected here. I'm going to replace the existing budget. Click on the create a spreadsheet. It will download the ADFDI. There I go and select the account. And for the particular period, I make the budget as 5,000. Then submit. After that, check the budget. Now, if you see, the budget available is 5,000. Total budget 5,000 and 100% budget is available. Earlier, this was 1,000. Now it is 5,000. Now, again, I go back to my work list, and in the actions, I can do check funds once again. So far you can see here, fund check reservation failed. So what I do now, I trigger the check fund once again. Then I can see this particular budget is passed. I'm not very sure why this one is coming. I'm not very sure it's in AD. I'm not very sure if there is another budget created for this. Anyway, the the one which I wanted to show is this. Now it has passed the budgetary control validation. We can see here, earlier it was failed, but now it's saying funds check passed with warning. With warning it is coming because there's another one. Some, I think one more budget is there in the system that is getting triggered. You can see the budget period is also different here. Okay, there may be some another yeah, there's another control budget which is stopping this particular, it's advisory, so that is also getting verified. So anyway, for my demonstration I had the budget as this one. If you see expense, that is the budget I have created. Now it has successfully went through. I log in as so yeah, now I log in as a approver and approve the spend authorization. So this is where I submit the proof, and then I go back and check the budget available. So now total budget is 5,000. Commitment is 1,200 because it's only estimated travel expense. So you can see this is how it has reset our budget availability. Let me go back to the notepad. So we tested this. We increased the budget, relaunched the budget check. approve the spend authorization. We verified the budget. Now we can see it has in the budget verification, we can see the now budget available is 3,800. Further, you can click on this particular transaction in this link to check which has made this commitment. Once you click on that, you will come to this particular page. It will tell you the transaction which has that commitment against that budget. If you click further here, it will take you to the respective spend authorization transaction. So this is what I wanted to share with all of you. I hope this was a useful session. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good time. Bye bye.